Welcome to the Stories of Us series, where we transform the narrative of the American veteran by adding more stories of us. Through telling our stories, we heal, we connect, and we create change in all those who bear witness. I'm your host for the day, Dr. Quinn Galloway Salazar. I'm the Vice Chair of the Board of Directors for Minority Veterans of America. And with me, I have the dopest guest, Lucy Del Gaudio. Lucy is an Army veteran who she is the Senior Manager of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at EssilorLuxottica?
Luxottica, yes.
And she serves as a Special Project Manager at the Minority Veterans of America, and she also serves as the Chief Operating Officer with the Pink Berets. With that, Lucy, welcome, my friend.
Thank you, gracias.
It is so good to see you. I think it's been like a year since I've seen you.
I know, but let me tell you, your Facebook just keeps me going, so thank you.
Ditto, my friend. So let's get this show on the road, okay?
Let's do it.
So tell us the story of you, where, the who, the what has made you who you are today?
So I am Lucy Del Gaudio. My maiden name is Chinea. I am Cuban Puerto Rican, born and raised in New Jersey, all over North Jersey. Cuban father, Puerto Rican mother. I want to say that my childhood was not the most usual, let's say. Child bringing, I experienced a lot of stuff very early on. My dad was an alcoholic. My mother was an enabler. So a lot of power struggle in the household. But my dad was also a heroin addict. So I watched my dad deteriorate to a disease called AIDS. When he passed away, my sister and I were both in school. So one of us had to say, hey, my mom couldn't afford 2 daughters in college. So I followed my brother's footsteps, one brother Marine, one brother Army, and I joined the military. I sat with them down both and said, hey, what do you think is best for me? I went with Army because it was a shorter boot camp, I'm going to admit, because I was a pretty private Benjamin. I wasn't thinking about what it was actually going to entail, but also my brother was my recruiter. So I, really listened to my brother, but yet there was some disparities there, and there was some things that he neglected to say. And I think it was based on his experience in the military because he was much older. So his generation was a little different. Not that things did not take place, what happened to me, and we'll get into that, but it is what it is. So I joined the military. Right as I entered, racial slurs, sexual innuendos, all that good stuff. And then I went overseas, did AIT at Fort Devens, Massachusetts, hit Germany during Desert Storm, Desert Shield, and I was assaulted by a senior NCO, reported, and it was neglected. And, they basically made me think I was not, it didn't happen to me. And they gaslit me for a multitude of time. After they discharged me from active Army, I came back stateside. I fulfilled my reserve commitment, and then I completely disconnected. I did not want to identify as a veteran. So a very long time, I would say from 1998 to 2000, I would say 13, 14, like once in a while, if there was like a Veterans Day breakfast at my kids' school, I would show up. But I did not want to identify as a veteran. I was totally disconnected. A friend of mine, I ran into him in 2014, and he said, Lucy, you should really get out there as a veteran. You have a very unique story. You're Latina. I wasn't identifying, though, as, a military sexual trauma survivor. So I said, sure, why not? So I joined Team RWB. I became the chapter captain. I formed the chapter of Northern New Jersey, and I did that. But I was a different person. Body-wise, I was about 300 pounds. I was about 12, 13 meds a day. And I was not taking care of myself because I still wasn't admitting that I was, assaulted in the military. So then, one day I woke up and I was really spiraling out of control. My husband and my kids were really, really concerned because I was in and out of the hospital, anxiety attacks that would present like heart attacks. I was taken out in an ambulance from a work event because I had this massive panic attack. And I said, I have to change my life. I have to find a rhythm. I have to find that right toolkit with a lot of support around me from veterans and friends that I made in Team RWB. I decided to practice holistic. And I found this toolkit of holistic practices, but also I finally admitted that, yes, I'm a military sexual trauma survivor. And I started getting assistance for that. And then, I dropped the meds, started running, yoga, meditation, lost a significant amount of weight. I have not taken a med since 2017 was the last time I took a med. April 7th, 2017 was the last time I took any type of med. And then started this practice. But then I really started taking a deep dive into advocacy, but in the homeless veteran space and the issues going on with women veterans here in the state of New Jersey. In 2020, on the height of Vanessa Guillen missing, I really was staying away from the story. Didn't want to identify with it because still, I even though I had told people my story, I still wasn't really there yet, And a friend of mine who served with me in Germany told me, hey, he would me and him have like check-ins once in a while, see how we're doing. He goes, hey, what are you going to do about this, Chinea? And I said, what do you mean? What am I going to do about it? He goes, this is you. Like, aren't you going to get in this fight? So started doing my research, watching all the news, but at that time when she was missing, it was more the noticias, Channel 41, Channel 47, Galavisión, all those channels, Telemundo, Univision, that they were the ones that were capturing this. It was very, very little in the regular channels. But when they found her body, then things broke. A fellow veteran advocate from the New York City area called me and she said to me, Lucy, a group of us are going to get on this call to do like a temperature check and to see like what we could do. And that was the night that I met the women and, those, our sisters, brothers, all our people in arm. That's when the grassroots movement was formed. And, we did this really phenomenal action petition. The work that was done and then, all the interviews started and then trying to figure out like, what's the next step? And that was the call to action to investigate Fort Hood. And, we worked aggressively. We got the petition out on 4th of July weekend. And then we, got the signatures that we needed. July 21st, we stormed the House Triangle and we asked for the hearing on the investigation of Fort Hood. And as I was going back home on a train to New Jersey, I got the phone call that, Congresswoman Spears asked me to testify. And that testimony changed my life because I was, taking this chance, this leap of faith to A, tell the world this is what happened to me, but B, two women of color sitting in a congressional table. And that was monumental. You know what I mean? We weren't the token anymore. We were the actual people saying this is us and this is real us. And, me and Melissa went there and we showed us our curls, what we were. We're tough women of color. And it uniquely changed my life. And then, all the aggressive work we've been doing thus far, the IRC, the independent review, all these multitude of things that I've been asked to do, but the fight is still going because it's still going on. And we have to change uniquely what the culture of military sexual trauma looks like. But I have to say, Lindsay Church, they were one of my inspirations because they supported me throughout the whole process. And I was nervous as hell. You know what I mean? I wanted to say the other thing, but I don't want to drop. I don't want to drop the. I was nervous as fuck. And
Yeah.
I called Lindsay. I was in my hotel in DC. They were going to meet me in the morning, and I said, I'm really nervous. And they told me, you got to organize your butterflies. Organize those butterflies. And now I have my butterfly on my arm.
Wow.
And I owe that to Lindsay, because if they didn't tell me, Lucy, you got this, I probably would have been a different side of testimony. And I found my strength that day, and it definitely made and then, all the work that we're doing right now, minority vets, pink berets, that's who I am.
I learn something new every single time. And it's pretty amazing how you have tied in your identity throughout your story, where you started off saying, I was, pretty Private Benjamin. And all I can see in my mind is Goldie Hawn, right?
And let me tell you, Quinn, that I was like, oh, what do you mean I have to wear green? Oh my God, you want me to get in there and get my hands dirty? Oh, my face is going to get dirty too. I was really that person. I really was. And again, I don't know if it was the Latina in me, that always was, your subservient type of Latina type of, that's the way I was raised. But I really was not, even though I was athletic, I was super athletic, but that side of me was like, ew, like, ooh, it was really not, it was really pretty funny.
I can definitely understand. I speak your language. I definitely understand. But tying some of those tapestries in, you talked about, from Pretty Private Benjamin to the racial slurs, to the sexual innuendos, to the assault, to where you are now, right? Being able to amplify not only your voice, but the voice of so many, right? And being able to share your story and say, me too, right? Picking up the pieces from homeless veterans and doing the work in that space and the women veteran space. So I want to ask you this question. Let's talk about some of those identities, right? And how it has shaped your journey throughout.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a very proud Afro-Latina. I really love my Latina-ness. I really embrace it because, my culture is incredibly important to me. But also, I'm bisexual, so that identity is very, very strong to me. That's something that I've really been tapping into in the last few years. But I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm so many intersections, and I've really learned how to play with them in a very cohesive way. The identity for me is something that I had to embrace because, at times, they were like, oh, Lucy, you don't sound Hispanic. Everybody expects me to sound like a Rosie Perez, that type of mookie, that type of thing. No, I grew up in Northern Jersey. This is the voice you're going to get. I grew up in a very predominantly Jewish community in Fort Lee, New Jersey. And then we moved to Hudson County. And that was difficult too, because I went from this really, really white environment, very Asian, the very Korean, Japanese community. And then I went to Union City where I wasn't Latina enough because, I walked into a hallway of a high school that they were only speaking Spanish. And I'm like, why are everybody speaking Spanish in the hallways? And then I was like, I was that too white Hispanic. So it was very, very difficult. So I was either not white enough or I was too white. And then, identity wise, I was screwed up because I didn't know who I was. And the military, I actually found a lot of my identity because it was such a melting pot of so many different people that I really learned how to express myself more in more ways than one. But I have to say, a lot of my new identity that I've worked with, I owe to my daughter, because she really is this, you know, she's a gender studies psychology major. That's what she graduated from college from. And she really tells me, like, you know, if I say something wrong, Mom, didn't say it right, you know. And she really has allowed me to explore. So again, my daughter, God bless her that I have the relationship that I have, that I could, you know, because she calls me out, like, Mom, that didn't, you know. And we have these really honest and open discussions about identity and transparency and how you communicate. So I really owe that to the communication that I have with my kids and my family.
That's dope. How do you tie that into your DEI efforts, right? Like, coming to this space with all of this expertise, right? All this subject matter expertise. I like to use the term, you're the guide on the side. Coming into the DEI work, all the intersectionality and identities that have formed who you are. How does that show up in that work? And
well, right now it's really showing up where I am right now in EssilorLuxottica. They've really, like, when I just started recently working with them, and they wanted all my identities, and they needed all my identities.
Yes.
Because they really wanted that. And that was one thing I asked them right away. Like, I don't want to lose myself. Yeah. Because the organization I was with prior, they were not into my, like, advocacy. They really wanted me to be sheltered in a sense. And they really had my hands tied at some times, where, you know, their external affairs department, like Lucy, like, you know, they wanted to know about what I was doing, because they didn't want to make the connection of their company name with me. And where my new company, they're like, Lucy, get to it. And, you know, they're embracing me. So for me, it was really important to find the right organization. I'm a corporate worker. This is what I'm doing. I foster the corporate environment. And again, in this company, I'm really showing my identities because I'm working in the space. I feel like I'm a subject matter expert because I've lived it. I've lived those identities. And then I think when you live the identities, you get more authentic work than someone that just does, like, hey, I have a degree or a certification in DE&I, so that's going to make me a subject matter expert. No, you got to live this shit. You know, my education, I didn't go to college. My education's the streets. And that's where I learned my stuff. The streets, the bunkers, the, you know, the barracks. That's where I got my, I guess, my bachelor's, my master's, my PhD, whatever you want to call it.
The school of hard knocks.
But the school of hard knocks. And that's the way it is. And again, I feel like I'm a better person when I really started tapping into all my healing, because this is me. I'm not gonna sugarcoat shit because of different aspects of me. This is me. I'm gonna come into it raw, and that's it. So I'm really grateful that the DE&I space, you could do that. You could convey that message, because I told a coworker the other day, if you don't feel uncomfortable doing DE&I, you're not doing it right, because we are educating people. Okay, we are educating people, and sometimes the conversation has to be uncomfortable, and that's when we know that we're doing the work. Like, again, you know, like some of the great artists, if art doesn't disturb you, then we didn't do our job. And again, if DE&I doesn't make you uncomfortable, then you're not doing your job either.
Absolutely. I love it. And I definitely think in this space as MVA, you know, amplifying your voice, it's allowing other veterans that are in the workplace to say DE&I matters, and I can bring my whole freaking self to this space, and I don't have to show up being someone that I'm not, right? I can take my hard skills, some of the learned soft skills, my culture, and bring it all to the table and give you the best of me. That's what it sounds like I'm hearing.
That's what it is. And let me tell you, I'll admit this, because I have not, only a few people know this. So in my prior organization, I had a VP tell me, you know, Lucy, you can't always play this PTSD card all the time. And I was like, really? And they go, you know what? You can't play it all the time. You can't use that as the way you're feeling. You know what? Sometimes this is me. Sometimes it's Lucy, I'm very closed off. Sometimes I'm very extroverted. Sometimes I'm very introverted. Sometimes you can't get me out of my goddamn bed because I'm so disconnected. My body hurts. My mind hurts. My brain is overthinking and overprocessing. And again, don't tell me that I can't, PTSD is not a card. Right. That's me. It's so unveiled in my DNA right now. But I've learned how to play with my demons, because let me tell you, my demons love to play with my head. And when that mind fuck starts, it's really difficult to get out of that space. So,
I have to capture that, right? Playing with your demons.
I play with major demons. Let me tell you, I play with major demons because, again, I went into the army with some issues. You know what I mean? I was bullied as a child. I tried to commit suicide in 7th grade. And I was dealing with a lot of emotional disturbances again, my childhood, my upbringing, things going on in my family. So then I went to the army thinking that I was going to change uniquely my way of life. And then boom, that happens to me. And then boom, I get home and I have to start raising a child by myself. And then I get married, and I was so broken and never told my ex-husband all the shit that was going on with me. So boom, I'm in a marriage that uniquely started off rough because I wasn't being truthful. And then finally breaking. And when I broke to that point, then I said, you know what, enough is enough. I got to come clean. And I really need to start working myself, because if I'm not happy, nobody around me is going to be happy.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to change. I would be a terrible person. I would be a terrible mom, terrible wife if I wasn't taking care of myself. And again, I was doing all the things that I was told to do, like, culturally as a wife, cooking, cleaning, working, taking care of kids, doing all that. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. And now I could say that I'm not miserable. I'm really, really in a good headspace. This headspace is really freaking good right now.
Sounds like joy, Lucy. That sounds like joy. So tell me one thing. What is your hope for our future?
I'm hoping that one day I could say that there's no such thing as military sexual trauma or sexual harassment in the military. I hope I could say that I could walk down the street with my white husband and people are still not going to stare at me. I'm still going to say that it's okay to be whatever you want to fucking be in this world. That's all I want. I want to be in a world where everything is everything. Yet, we still need that banter. We still need those people. I need people who are going to test me, or going to question things that I say. I need that, we need that yin and yang. And, but I want it done in a way that it's not going to be hurtful, that it's not going to hurt anybody, that nobody is going to, I just want people to be happy. I just want happiness. And I want my granddaughter to grow up in a world that is just a really great place to be. That's all I want. I just want everybody to be happy and, and listen to music, watch great art, great art and great movies. I want that. I want, that's what I want.
And the food, Lucy, you got
la comida, of course, la comida. I mean, how many empanadas can I make?
I mean, I sit sometimes, I'm like, am I drooling over the food that she's sharing on this screen? What is really going on right here?
I have to tell you, food is a very important piece of my DNA. My Cuban grandmother, Isabel, lived around the love of food. And some of the most incredible conversations I had as a child were around her kitchen, watching her cook. She poured her love into cooking. And I love to do that too. Like, again, when I'm cooking in my kitchen, my kids come in, we talk, we've had some really difficult conversations, but we've also had some really beautiful conversations, a lot of love, a lot of tears, a lot of joy. But when I cook with complete love, because I want people to feel when they taste it that I love them and I made it for them. And, I've broken bread with many people in my home, and friends, and, banana bread and empanadas, and, making all my goodies. Like, I was in Texas for a few days. I just got back, and last night we got back from a ranch, and, I made chicken marsala and I made chicken chili, and, but I did it while, the person that I was staying with, my, one of my best friends, Leah, I stayed in her apartment, but she was sitting there, and as I'm cooking, we're talking and engaging and laughing and listening to music. That's the kitchen, that's the food, that's the love. And to me, it's very important.
So I think, that a light bulb just kind of went off. I think there needs to be cooking with Lucy.
My dream, I have a dream that when I retire, whenever I decide to retire, I'm getting close there. I'm in my 50s, so I could, but I would love to open a restaurant. I would love to open like a Cuban restaurant in Texas, because there's no such thing as a Cuban restaurant in Texas. And I would love to make food with love. A lot of love, again, Cuban food, Caribbean food, Latin food is made with a lot of love. So
sign me up. I'm coming. Sign me up. I'm coming.
You'll be there. You'll be there, girl.
Coming. One last question for you. Why is it so important for veterans to tell our stories?
Because you don't know who you're going to impact. You don't know who just can't share their story, but also how similar many of our stories are. We are, as people, we don't like to share our stories. I didn't like to share my story for many layers of like shame and tarnishment. I felt it was a very tarnished story. But actually, as I tell it more and people listen, and, when I get cards or I get a message saying, Lucy, thank you for sharing your story, I wasn't able to do something because, I was ashamed to say something, and you gave me the courage to say it. That fills my cup. And I tell my story because it fills my cup, and hopefully I can make change in someone's life. And that's why I tell it. So, I've embraced telling my story, and not in a shameful way.
Beautiful, beautiful. So let us all organize our butterflies. Let's share our stories with courageousness. Lucy, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, my love.
This is Stories of Us. See you next time.